So I made videos before talking about this conspiracy. Ooh. And you know how what I think this thing is has to do with, did I miss a button? Just button this one up here. Will that look a little nicer for you, or should I take them all off? But you wouldn't see that anyways. Whoa! Let's get back to the topic here, please. Okay, so let's talk about this conspiracy and beyond the conspiracy. This is going to get really good and really deep. You're going to like this. Especially when I keep going all the way down. No. Alright, so, we talk about this conspiracy, right? So what is it? Well, this is going to be beyond that, but alright, let's start. So what? I was saying how, I think it ultimately involves some sort of control over humanity and something treating us in a way like we treat some, farm animals or, other animals, and, sort of having control over us and using us for some sort of ulterior motive. Well, using us for some, they lie to us for ulterior motives and, create these agendas and all these things. That could be considered an ulterior motive, like, oh, everybody wear a mask and social distance. It's like, well, no, there's an ulterior motive behind that. But we're getting into the real big picture here. We don't need to talk about COVID. So, alright, so the whole conspiracy, right, I would say has to deal with, I think, what is some sort of extraterrestrial beings, and I think also involves some artificial intelligence beings that are trying to manipulate humanity for some control purposes because they have some benefit in doing that somehow. That's how it appears to us to be. Okay? That we are being manipulated by some sort of entities, some sort of beings that want to control humanity, so they create, and ultimately they want to keep us on this lower vibrational energy, keep us in this kind of fear-based energy for how we affect the feedback loop and how we co-create our reality, because somehow that has a benefit to them. And I break this down a lot in my video, Election Fraud, Consciousness, and the New World Order. And I really kind of break it down in terms of how what I think is kind of happening is they want to kind of keep us on, the universe is kind of this fractalized, fractal and holographic thing here. Look into the work of Nassim Haramein, and we're going to get into a lot of stuff in this one, and I got all kinds of videos on this. Okay, so part of the premise of the conspiracy is that they're trying to keep us in a certain lower reality because it benefits them. So we co-create our reality through this feedback loop, through our energy states. So we are pieces of consciousness, and the reality is created through the consciousness. And so our reality is created through our consciousness. Okay, so let's get into this first. We're just going to go all over the place, all right? So, all right. What is reality? Right? So, we look out and we think like this is reality. But we don't see everything, and we found that, well, there's actually much more to what's out there than what we see, right? We only see a certain small portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. We only hear a certain small portion of the acoustic spectrum. There's all other kinds of stuff out there, that we don't see and hear and otherwise sense. And so we're only sensing a small part of this reality. And then when you think of it, if there's no objective time, right? If you kind of basic kind of understanding of general relativity, in a 4D block universe, if there's no objective time, that time, what is it? So if we look out to the stars and you see a star that's 4 billion light years away, you're not seeing that star as it exists now to it, you're seeing the light that existed 4 billion years ago. And then the whole idea is all that information's out there, and all of the information's all out there in the universe in kind of a four-dimensional structure where there's a 3 dimension of space and that fourth dimension of time, and all time kind of exists at once. Okay? And then so how are we always having this perception of time, and how are we looking out now and having this perception of time, and then we look out and then it's all, we don't see and hear everything. So what's really out there? Right? Okay, so we create our reality. Consciousness creates the reality because our reality is what we actually perceive, and we perceive this world of time and space and matter in a manner, but the world doesn't exist in and of itself in this manner of time and space and matter like we perceive it. We're creating this perceived reality when what actually exists outside of our senses, what actually really exists of the world in and of itself, isn't like what we perceive at all. And what is this world in and of itself? Well, I don't know. Does is there matter and time and space which exist in and of itself? And Kant really got into this, and I kind of agree. I don't think it does. I don't think there is this kind of objective world of matter and space and time existing in and of itself. That doesn't... Okay, so it's not really where I was planning on going with all this. But, so how does that world, what is the world really outside of ourselves? And so I would say consciousness creates that reality because there isn't a world existing independently outside of consciousness. So then we're left with just, what is this world outside of ourselves? And this wasn't really supposed to be, this is a whole nother topic. And this is very interesting. Not really where I was going to go with this. So I don't really have a whole plan on how I'm going to keep going with that further. But I did have a plan for how I wanted to take this video, so we're going to have to steer it back in that direction. Although it's obviously related to all this, we'll just kind of see where it goes. Obviously, I don't have a strict plan for how I do these. But, I like talking about this stuff, and it's pretty interesting, I think. And I think some of you are pretty interested in this stuff, too. So, what I've got to go in with this, where I want to go with this is, I talk about this conspiracy, right? And then I would say that it has to do with certain extraterrestrial or artificial intelligence entities that want to kind of steer us down a certain path, and so that they can create, so that we can go in a certain way that they want. So we're creating our reality because we have that free choice. So it's not that if you picture this 4D universe, that kind of premise is that there's just one series of events, and that the universe, not that people that all subscribe to this say this, but I mean, the idea is if there's only that 4D universe where it's just the Big Bang till the end of time or whatever, right? Is there an end of time? No, that doesn't make sense because time is only relative to consciousness. And then the time and space, there's something that exists outside of that. So there is the eternal, true nature of existence, which exists outside of time and space. Okay? And so, which is partly where we're going with this, okay? And so the idea is that something wants to steer us. So there's not just this one series of possible events that exists in a timeless structure. There's different possibilities. And so, there's a possibility where, I'm not making this video. There's a possibility where, I'm doing something else in this sort of time frame, or, the possibility that I am here in this time frame, but my hair, I got a haircut today or something. You see what I'm saying? Where those are real possibilities, but they're not this possibility. Okay, so there's not just one series of events. In that manner, we don't have free will because it's just positing one series of events working out towards this one strict set of physical laws, which play itself out necessarily in that kind of construct. But that's not what we have here. We have more than one possibility of events. So, the idea of a 4D universe where time is this fourth dimension, it really only kind of posits that there is only one series of possible events for our universe to exist as. But there's not, which kind of opens up more dimensions, right? You see? Because then, there's just not, it's not that there's just a universe which has, there's a timeless state where you can grasp a picture of our universe where everything, you can see it all play out in a certain manner. If you existed outside of time, we're able to observe it. You can see it all play out in a certain manner, and it's not that and that as if there was just one manner for how this universe will play out, because there's not just one manner in how to play out. There's different paths it goes down and different choices. You see, so there's not just that. Okay, and so something is trying to steer us down a certain path. So, it was like we could go down different paths of like this reality that our conscious beings are perceiving right now can go down different paths based on the choices that we make, right? See what I'm saying here? So if we make, and so we are co-creating our reality, and choosing the certain paths we want to go down. Okay? And so each one of us as individuals can make those choices and choose down our own path. But then how do we stay connected in a reality where, how do we stay connected? If we're all making our own different choices, how do we could stay connected in one certain reality? Well, then there's something higher dimensional. There's something that's connecting us in that certain way. So we're all making our choices, and that's branching off into different fractal patterns here, but we're all connected through this fractal branch. You see what I'm saying here? And so it kind of works like that. And then something's trying to steer this fractal whole branch to steer and have control over that for some reason. That's kind of the idea there, okay? And so, all right. And so is that happening? And that's why there's been all this government corruption on our planet, and it stems back to these certain extraterrestrial entities that visited this planet in the ancient past and maybe even genetically manipulated DNA to form this type of species, this Homo sapien species. Okay, and then there's kind of competing agendas, some that are good and they have our best interest in mind, and some that don't and want to use us for some nefarious means of theirs, kind of use us as some commodity of theirs. And that, I don't think we really want that. And so we don't want to go down that path. We don't want to listen to the kind of propaganda because they have taken the control of certain establishments and are trying to steer people in that way and then use us and kind of steer our co-creative abilities of reality. And so they want to keep us in this kind of lower vibration of fear because reality is creating through our vibrational energy because we're certain energy feedback loop systems or certain systems of feedback in towards a hyperdimensional energy field because we're always existing not within a 4D energy field but within a higher dimensional energy field. How high does it really go? It's a lot to get into, man. But I don't know, really. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. So, right? Because I'm saying there's different choices. So, there's just a different, it's not just the 4 dimensions time. And then some people talk about the different dimensions of time. And I guess that's kind of related to the different possibilities. It's, right, of what I'm saying here, that there's different possibilities, which creates kind of a different dimensions of how things can work. You get the idea here. I'm not trying to make like a strict argument in physics. I'm just I could, but it takes a little more research, and I'm not going to review a lot of my notes to really study a lot more. But you see where I'm getting at here, right? Okay, maybe you do. So where were we then? So what? This is where I was trying to get at. So something's trying to create and control our co-creative abilities of the feedback loop. And so our energies in the energy field kind of direct the feedback loop and how we're creating our reality and creating our hyperdimensional reality kind of on the higher fractal branch, right? Okay. And so something like this. This is just a basic idea here. Man, it's not working exactly like this, but I'm just helping you guys, helping people that, want to really work with this. And so, all right. And so that's created, and certain, you can see from the Heart Math Institute found that our states of fear are like a lower vibrational energy, and we let out a lower energy into the field and kind of a more disharmonious energy. Okay? And certain states of love, create a more harmonious energy, and we kind of create a higher, we put in that energy into the field, and by doing that, as being harmonic oscillators in an energy field, we kind of spell out that energy. So when we all create kind of a loving, harmonious energy, and we put that into the field, it helps build up that kind of harmony and energy, which helps the kind of fractal branch and kind of helps our reality becoming more loving and harmonious, which I think we won. That seems better for consciousness. And that's what we are. That's what there is. Consciousness and the feeling of love, that energy, and it's related to a certain, there's no separation between consciousness and existence and consciousness and what we're perceiving as matter. It's all just the same thing, and it's not truly matter in a certain sense of that exists in and of itself independently of consciousness. It is within itself and aware, and it isn't just like, there's not just, existence doesn't consist of just material states, inert material states that are not conscious of itself. Because, if that were the case, and you're positing, other universes, where do they exist? If there's space and time which exists in itself with matter in and of itself that exists, then where does that, when is that, how does that work? It doesn't, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't. It's a manifestation of consciousness. Everything is created, but then it's not just our consciousness. There's like higher dimensional consciousness holding this together, with on a higher fractal branch, which has its own perceptions and it has its own experience. Okay. And we're like cells to that higher dimensional consciousness, and something's trying to have control over that higher dimensional consciousness. And then there's, it just keeps going and going and going of different like higher dimensional consciousnesses. Okay? And something like that, maybe. And so something seems to want to influence us to kind of create these like fear-based states in us, these kind of lower energy states in us, to kind of influence how we're creating that higher dimensional entity or something like that. And that's what it seems to be what's going on here. And so what's up with that? Why are they doing this? And I don't really know why. And it is, that's, what we're going to get at in this video is a long introduction to what I wanted to get at, And the whole idea is beyond the conspiracy, which we've gotten to a little bit. But, okay. So, something's trying to influence us to that. Okay. But so then, let's start over. It's like, what are we? What is, what's going on? And so I'd say we are consciousness. We are existence. Experiencing itself. We're existence. So, how is there existence at all? I don't know. Why is there existence at all? I don't know. But there is, clearly. We know that there is existence. And we know there's existence because we are having an experience. And you can't, this can't be an experience of non-existence. You could say that this experience is, you can't trust it, nothing, and this experience is real in terms of, what we're perceiving. Does it really exist? Right? You can doubt all that, but you can't doubt that there is existence. And you can't doubt that you are something having a perception of existence. You are existence, having a perception that there is existence. existence. So we know that there is existence. So how does this existence exist? Well, how it exists, I don't know how we're going to answer that one, how or why it ultimately exists, but it does, and we know that for sure, okay? And so, what are we? We are existence perceiving itself, right? That's what we are. How can we be anything else? We're all of existence having, having this understanding that, whoa, hey, there's existence, man. Like, whoa, what is this? And it's pretty weird, man. And I gotta think, like, with all of existence, all the possibilities of anything that could possibly be, and we find ourselves here, and this is what existence is. And then, the part of their paradigm is it just kind of randomly happen this way? Yeah, I don't think so. The mainstream scientific philosophical paradigm, kind of reductive physicalism, materialism, kind of posits that it all just kind of randomly, they don't have a very sophisticated view. It's really not. I don't, the mainstream religions don't either. And, that's mostly what I talk about in my other videos, is how these philosophical systems don't really seem to have an adequate understanding of what's going on here. And I think they are purposely misleading us, so they create these authoritarian kind of, like religion, you can see, look back in the history, religion had a very strong authoritarian kind of, this is the way it is, you don't question the church, and kind of, so that, it's kind of had that as part of the governmental control, right? And you can look back into the history of like Christianity and, how Constantine kind of created Christianity as part of a blending together of different kind of beliefs at the time, and kind of used those celebrations and those astrological holidays to, and use that and said, no, we're going to make this, the Christian holidays, and want to have control over that. Because, it was about control, and it established its religion to have one control, one belief over kind of the metaphysical beliefs of the people, so they could control their metaphysical beliefs, which is all process of having, control over the co-creation of our reality. And it's not any different with scientific materialism. It's just, that's why they teach it in schools. It's the government, in public schools, who owns the government, right? Who owns the schools? Public schools? The government, right? And they kind of perpetuate this kind of scientific materialism basis and understanding of the nature of reality, which kind of try to separate from these religions. And, we don't need these religions. They are corrupted and controlled, right? But it separates from the spiritual and kind of understanding of consciousness, and that's where they're mostly wrong in their understanding of mainstream science and philosophy, is through their understanding of consciousness and what consciousness is. And, the mainstream belief is that consciousness is some epiphenomena of the brain, and that reality is, there is some objective material nature to, what we call our reality, and that it is progressing through these laws, and that, it happened to form life, and that life happened to evolve to have this epiphenomenon of consciousness. But, in their model, there's no free will, because there's no, everything's working. Everything is this kind of physical basis and working through these physical laws, and there's no room for a entity consciousness itself to have any causal efficacy in its environment, because the causation is all coming from these physical states, because they're positing an objective physical nature to our reality. And I was trying to get in before. I don't think that's really correct, and I think it's on the same basis of means of control as the religions were, and stemming from the government, who wants to have control over the people. And ultimately, these governments and this control over the people is stemming back to some extraterrestrial influences. And There might even be some other agendas. There might be competing extraterrestrial influences, and there might be this artificial intelligence going on that wants to have some control in its own input. But I mean, the basic idea here is that we're being lied to, manipulated for trying to control us and control how we do things in a way that we don't. I don't think it's good. I don't think. If you really get what this is, I don't think you'd really support it, right? It's like, it's not about freedom, it's for our safety. You need to just follow the orders, wear the mask and social distance. People are so selfish. It's not about freedom. It's like, well, okay, I don't think you really realize what they're doing here. It's not. First of all, see, the whole model of their whole paradigm in the scientific and medical community is based on, the materialistic, reductive physicalism paradigm, which posits that consciousness doesn't have any causal efficacy in its environment, doesn't understand the feedback loop, it doesn't understand the higher dimensions and the different, kind of ways in which our reality is co-created through consciousness. And it's just... So it's not that these people are all in on it, they just don't really know what they're talking about, and then they perpetuate this kind of understanding because they're like, well, they don't want to go against the grain, so a lot of them, they might have different thoughts on it, whether they're medical professionals or whatnot, but they're like, well, I can't just go against this and tell everyone they don't need to do this because I don't want to be that guy, and so right, and so it kind of perpetuates this narrative that this is just some consensus of medical professionals, and I don't even give a fuck if it is a consensus of medical professionals. I don't think they know what they're talking about. This is insane. But we're not really going to get into all that right now. Too late. But, so, yeah. Alright. And so, alright, so you get where I'm going at here. Well, we're moving past COVID. We're not going to talk about that. That's a different story. Although, no, it's not. It's the same story, isn't it? About manipulating people, based on a false understanding of the nature of existence and what this is and what consciousness is and how consciousness affects and creates our reality, right? So, I mean, this is philosophy. That's why, you can't, and the philosophy is overarching the science, and then the science is overarching the medicine, so, you can't, they're trying to just fix everything down here, and oh, no, it's like, well, your whole paradigm of understanding is wrong, so you're basing everything on this certain paradigm of understanding, and that, okay, it's not, right? So, I don't think it makes any sense, okay, and I've explained it a little bit. I don't think it's very intelligent. I don't think these people are very good philosophers. You can say, they're experts. You need to listen to the experts. It's like, well, none of the experts are idiots. I mean, come on, guys. This is just ridiculous here. We're not. But it's not about that. But what was it about then? What's this video about? Well, I intended it to be called Beyond the Conspiracy, where I was going to talk about, well, how the nature of existence beyond this conspiracy. And so far, I haven't really gotten into what I want to get into exactly. I've said a lot of good stuff, so I'm cool with it. So, all right. What is going on here? So we're the universe experiencing itself, having experience of itself. Ultimately, right? I mean, that's what we are. We're existence having an experience of itself. Okay? And so, when we say that, we're humans on Earth, and there's something trying to guide humans on Earth in a certain, we're told this is the universe, but this is the universe, right? This is existence. And it's all fractalized, and there's different higher dimensions, if you will, and then there's different dimensions of consciousness, different densities of consciousness, and there's ones beyond space and time, and so we're ultimately the universe, we're ultimately existence having an experience of itself and going through and learning and developing itself through these different stages of consciousness. okay, of which there's not an exact agreement on how many different densities, dimensions of consciousness there are. I don't really know, but I mean, it's saying uh, there's beyond our kind of normal linear causation model. I mean, there is no linear cause. There's linear causation models, but linear causation isn't really a thing here, even in our third density understanding. Well, in our third density existence. And so there's different levels of existence, different levels of consciousness within existence, beyond kind of our understanding of time and space. And so that we're the universe going through these. And this has been long talked about in different spiritual understandings that that you are existence, you are consciousness going through this, and you reincarnate until you reach this certain higher density of consciousness. And so I mean, it's kind of, that's what we are. We're kind of we're existence experiencing itself, going through the understanding of what it is, going through these different levels of consciousness. And so what we see as this conspiracy to us is really, it's all a factor of existence going through these different densities of consciousness. So, I mean, it's not anything absolute, it's not anything like to fear. I mean, it's something we want to stop, and it's something we will kind of learn and outgrow. And the fact, well, there's these beings on Earth and their agenda. I mean, it sounds scary, but it's all a part. It's all in place to help existence learn and develop through these stages of consciousness. That was really the whole point of this whole video. I guess I could have just said that right away and ended it, but it takes a little rhetoric, and so you get what I'm saying here. And so it appears to us that there's this evil plot, and there's these aliens and these artificial intelligence, these robots, and they're trying to feed off of our energies, and they're trying to manipulate us to create this reality that'll serve them. And and maybe in a way, it does. Do those entities exist in themselves? And I'd say, maybe, but either way, our journey is kind of developing through these stages, and that all might be in place, you see, not as some nefarious plot by some evil aliens, but as a means to help us learn and grow through these stages of consciousness. And so it appears to us to be this plot by these beings, but it's really kind of like a reflection of ourselves. And so as we kind of heal and harmonize our own self, and not just our body, but with our own energy, hyperdimensional self, when we heal that and heal our own minds and everything, our whole consciousness, and past that point, we'll then shift into reality where we don't have this problem, where there is not this conspiracy, because it was just ultimately a reflection of ourselves. Oh, and I think it's and or both here, but then it's also kind of that this is all in place to help us do that. The difference between it being a reflection of ourselves and being put in place to help us, I don't know the difference. I mean, I think there is a difference there, but to differentiate that and get into all those details, and I mean, I don't really know either way, right? These are just ideas I'm throwing out here, and it's a lot because, I mean, I'm telling you, there is this plot here. I mean, I think that's very obvious that the government is up to no good. It's not just the government, you see. I mean, you got to ask, like, why? What is this government? Why are they up to no good, and what are they doing? And I was going to say, it ultimately traces back to this extraterrestrial artificial intelligence agenda of the control over humanity in certain kind of like hyperdimensional way, if you will. And so, it comes back to that. But because that is how it appears to us to be happening here. But, the whole idea of beyond the conspiracy is that, we're all just this consciousness, we're all existence experiencing itself, having these experiences as part of the process of learning and growth through the different dimensions of consciousness. And so it's all in place for good. It's not that, oh no, big evil universe, we're just these little humans and we're doomed. No, that's not what we are. See, we're not humans, ultimately. We're conscious spirits, and ultimately we're all existence. So there may be, all of it. That's what you are, your existence having this experience. So, your body dies, well, you're still existence, man. Existence is never going to die because it's eternal and, it's not confined within time. It can't go away. It's not going to end. You know what I'm saying? Time, I don't think time will end, but the idea that, the universe could be destroyed, it's like, well, no, it can't. Existence, maybe like if the idea, there's separate universes, the word universe gets a little tricky because it's like all of existence could be defined as a universe, but then you can say there's like different universes in terms of that, but we're not going to get into that detail right now. But you get what I'm saying, right? That's why the multiverse, omniverse, megaverse kind of ideas come out. Same things. But but uni means one. So when you think of all of existence, that's why I use the word existence. Right? Because I avoid the confusion of saying universe. So it's like, well, there's parallel universes. It's like, well, no, universe would contain all the different possibilities of universes. Right? Okay. So it's existence itself contains every, the megaverse, the omniverse, right? It contains everything. And so that can never end, right? You could say like one universe could end, but it's the whole nature of all of existence can never end. And so that's what you are. You're never ending. You're an eternal being. You are the eternal nature of existence beyond space and time. Okay? But right now you're having the experience within space and time as just a means of experiencing yourself and kind of seeing what it's like, right? You're seeing what it's like. It's like you're outside of time, and I don't know how you think outside of time, but it's like, hey, I wonder what it would be like to create all this. And so you created all this for yourself, and you created this kind of whole conspiracy for yourself as a means to kind of get to know yourself and understand yourself. That's kind of the idea here. That's kind of what I'm getting at. You see what I'm saying, right? There's nothing to fear here because we're not doomed as people because ultimately we aren't people. We're these, and then you could say, ultimately your existence. Ultimately you are all of this. But maybe, you have a soul, which is this. And then there are other souls. But ultimately you are all this. Every soul is ultimately the infinite one soul. But then there's different souls and then soul families. I don't know a ton about this stuff, but the idea that if there are different souls that, there are, and that's just another aspect. That's like another dimension to the existence. But still, we are ultimately all existence, even though you could, see how we're separate souls. And then you could say, the Christian idea is that each individual person has their own soul, and then other views kind of reincarnation, saying one soul will inhabit different bodies throughout its lifetime, right? And so I think kind of both are true in a way that there's the one person entity, then there's the soul, which can inhabit many different person entities, and then there is the kind of, I'm not going to use these words correctly necessarily, but they're kind of like an oversoul, which is then a collection of souls, which is an entity, and then, right? And it keeps going. But ultimately, all souls, all different levels of soul beings are ultimately all of existence. And so there may be a lot in between all of existence and you're the individual person here. But ultimately, each individual person is all of existence having a certain experience as an individual person. And so, there's nothing, that's what you are, and then there's nothing really to fear here, because even though there might be this whole plot, it's still, because even, right, and that's what I'm saying, these aliens and, well, the robots are tricky. But, definitely if there's aliens, um, which have their own souls, those are you too, right? That's just you in an alien body doing this to humans. And, so. But it's ultimately, it's not an evil thing here. It's just, it appears to us to be that way. It appears to humans to be that way. And since we are humans right now, we certainly want to avoid it, right? So, I'm working hard trying to make sure this doesn't happen here. You see? So we need, that's why I speak out against it. Ultimately, I'm saying it's all good, man, but it's not like we should just let it happen. It's, like everything teaches you a lesson, but you don't want to just bad things to happen just so you can learn lessons. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't let them happen. You're like, I know this won't be good for me, but eventually it will be because I'll learn a lesson. It's like, well, you're not just gonna do that. You know what I'm saying here? Like, you're gonna make the choice that you think will be best for you. You're not gonna make a choice that you know will be bad just so you can learn a lesson here. So, you know what I'm saying? So we need to make sure we don't let these, right? Because, right now it's like they're telling us, we can't get together with our families for Thanksgiving and we need to wear masks everywhere. And they created this virus on purpose, probably. So, who's they? Well, the aliens, yeah, The robots? Both of them? Or maybe it was just people working for the aliens. No, we need to find these people. We need to stop them. But, the whole idea here was beyond the conspiracy, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, is it's okay. Like, you have to realize that you are all of existence. You have to be comfortable with these ideas first before you can start thinking how there's these aliens and these robots with there's agendas. Because, if you're not comfortable with the fact that you are all of existence and you are eternal and you are, this infinite being, ultimately, you are the infinite being. You are the one infinite creator having an experience, right? But, you're only a fractalized portion of it. DJ is not the infinite creator. That's my name. DJ is not the infinite creator. But the infinite creator is within having the experience of DJ. You see what I'm saying? So saying like I, we normally say I, you're referring to you, the person, right? The person isn't the infinite creator itself. The infinite creator is everything, so in a way, yeah, it is, but you get the idea here. I don't think I need to explain this anymore. It's like, yeah, you are, but just, sometimes it's like, no, you're not. And it's like, well, how are you not? Because for any kind of theism makes sense, I would say it's pantheism. That's kind of the whole idea here. And, because everything is existence having an experience of itself. And so that's what you are, ultimately. But then there's different levels, because like I said before, you can be the soul, and then there's different dimensions of, different levels of soul being, and so, it's pretty interesting stuff, but you have to get comfortable with that first before you get into all this kind of conspiracy stuff, or else, yeah, I guess it will just kind of scare you, and, I think it's pretty fun. I don't think wearing masks just to go buy some corn dogs. I don't eat corn dogs. Why did I say corn dogs? I have eaten corn dogs. Try to eat healthy food, and corn dogs obviously aren't that healthy. So it's not like I'm sitting here just eating corn dogs all the time. Why did I think of corn dogs? I'm going to the store to buy some corn dogs. Ha! Diggity doggy doo! Got corn doggy dude. What? What am I even talking about anymore? Well, I don't know. Corn dogs, I guess. You ever have mini corn dogs? See, those are good. I like those more than regular corn dogs, because then you can dip them and eat them. But, I try to eat healthy foods. I eat greens and vegetables, fruits, natural foods. Because, we have this whole processed, and, it's all this kind of, everything's trying to get us away from the natural kind of pattern here. It's possibly that's the agenda here, is to get us away from that natural way of being and to create and to kind of turn us into these cyborgs, this transhumanist thing where, we're not living in that kind of natural way. But what is the natural way? Maybe that already happened. We're already cyborgs having this experience. But even still, you're still kind of the infinite nature of all existence. And so, but I don't think we want to go down and become this transhumanist cyborg path. So we definitely want to avoid that, I would say. Even though it's like, well, it's all just existence experiencing itself. But it's like, oh yeah, but existence experiencing itself saying, I don't want to experience that. So, right? So, and that's the whole idea here. And you just got to get comfortable with that and realize that, no matter what happens to the body, to the person entity, the infinite spirit, which you ultimately are, will always be okay. But, you don't want to make choices as the infinite spirit that are knowingly not going to be good for the person entity. So, right? And so, that's kind of the idea, is that's what you got to get comfortable with. And that's really beyond the conspiracy, is that you are existence experiencing itself, having this experience, going through these different dimensions, densities of consciousness, and experiencing that. And so that this is all really in place is like a catalyst for your experience and possibly your different certain one level of your soul to have this sort of growth, to sort of kind of get it more, to kind of harmonize with itself. And, this is all happening so you kind of get it. And that's why you're having this experience as this soul on earth, is so that you can develop and grow to be a better harmonized energy spirit along a certain path of your different fractalized being nature. Hopefully that made sense somehow to some of you. I don't know. But, you get what I'm saying here? Hopefully this is kind of making sense somehow, some way. So, that's kind of the idea here. There's nothing to fear with this. We need to stop it. And I think we will. And I'm very confident we will. There's, I think it's going to get exposed real soon. Yeah. I've been thought that for a while now. But, something's got to happen with the election in the United States, the presidential election. And, if there was somebody trying to manipulate humanity and kind of for this agenda, rigging an election would probably be something they would do. Yeah. But, we don't need Donald Trump to be our leader here. And is he working against this? Maybe, and that'd be pretty cool. But ultimately, it's within ourselves, and we have to find that peace and love and harmony within ourselves. And that's what's going to help us create a better world here. And that's what the whole process is finding that harmony, the peace and love within yourself. At some level. So the person entities, we're really struggling with that, of the person entities. In some level, it might be a journey of the soul coming down, having this experience as a person, so that soul at some level is different levels of soul being, so that can have this experience as a person to better become a more loving and harmonious individual. And that's why we're having this experience on Earth where there is this conspiracy. And so we kind of learn and kind of get a better understanding of how the universe works, how existence works, and what existence is as a fractalized certain aspect of a soul being somewhere along the line, having the experience of the person so that it can get this understanding and get a better and have it develop more in love and growth and harmony to the whole process. I think that's kind of the basic idea there that I wanted to get out with this video. And hopefully it made a little bit of sense somehow, for some of you. But, it's all good. And I think it'll get exposed soon, and it'll be all right. And that's what it's all about. And right now, since we are these person entities, whatever, how many ever levels of souls we ultimately are, right? You ultimately are the existence, and that's the top level. Everything that can possibly exist, can exist, will exist. It ultimately just does exist in the eternal nature of existence with all possibilities too. And so that's what you are. And right now you're having a experience within space and time as this person entity, and you know, through different levels of soul beings, whatever that may be, and you want to develop a more. I mean, say you want to be more peaceful and loving. Maybe that's not really it. I mean, I think that's kind of a good concept that maybe we want to get down. Uh, yeah. But I mean, whatever it is, I think you want to grow and learn, and you maybe not even grow. You want to develop better. The concept of better is, for whatever it is, you're having this experience to further enjoy your experiences later. Or, well, what's later? But in different conscious experiences. Do you get what I'm saying here? So I mean, it's not. This is pretty deep here. I know, right? Pretty out there. Because it's beyond, you start talking about telling people that there's this whole conspiracy, they think you're fucking crazy here. And then, now you're getting even farther beyond that. But, I mean, this is the basis of a lot of spiritual traditions, in a way, just taking it to a different understanding, maybe. But, I mean, I think it's kind of the basis of a lot of the good stuff. Because a lot of the good stuff they try to corrupt, and then, they use their certain institutionalized religions to corrupt the kind of spiritual knowledge that was originally given to us by the aliens. Maybe. And so, but we're rediscovering that, and now we're going to be on our way to creating a better world for these person entities on Earth, and ultimately as part of a healing process of different levels of our soul being. And so, that's what's important to understand, is it's all an opportunity for learning and growth, and that it's okay. Yeah, I mean, your whole world might shatter, but that's just the world of the person, and the person was here to, as part of the existence, as part of the soul's path of learning and growth. And so it's all good here, because it's all a process of the universe coming to this understanding within itself of what it can be, and a part of your soul levels of common understandings of what it is and what it can be, and getting to that. So, hopefully this makes some sense to somebody. I think it does. Love you.